Before you start your art project, first complete the course. In this course, you're going to complete 10 puzzles, and the purpose is to get a basic feel of how to use simple commands. Once completed, go down here for a more complex version. In this version, there are many more commands you can use to create a more complex design and shape. This is my project that I created with artists called The Princess's Yard. To explain my program, I'm going to divide it into 3 steps. Before that, let me explain the basic blocks used to create my program. In the action bar, you can move your artist forward or backward by specified pixels or make it turn right or left in a specified amount of degrees. You can also make it jump on a specific spot on the canvas instead of making it move forward or backward. The difference is that it won't draw a line behind it, which is pretty useful. In my program, you can see that I made it jump to 280 over 300 down and jump to 330 over to 390 down. Think of it as a graph. The first number will move left or right, known as the X position, and the second number will move it up or down, known as the Y position. Now you know those actions, let's go on to functions. Functions is a named group of programming instructions. Functions are reusable abstractions that reduce the complexity of writing and maintaining programs. An abstraction is a simplified representation of something more complex. You can see it by clicking on the edit of the function. It allows you to hide details to help you manage complexity and focus on relevant concepts. As you see in my program, I have used many functions. This function will draw a house. This function over here will draw a flower, and this function over here will draw a tree. Now let's take a closer look at my draw a house function that created part of my program. Here are the commands that I used to create draw a house. You can see here is set pattern, and that came from brushes. Brushes are to change the line design or change the color. Instead of having the basic black line, I used a more creative one to draw my house. Instead of typing a block of statements again and again, you can use a loop around the block of statements. In my program, I looped it around 2 actions, move forward and turn left, and repeated it 3 times. This will make a triangle, which is the roof of the house. Here, move forward and turn right, repeated 4 times, will draw a square, which is the foundation or the base of the house. This is how it turned out. As you can see, the function drew a house. Notice in my function that I defined a parameter. Parameters are an extra piece of information that you pass to a function to customize it for a specific need. In this case, I specified length. What it will do is I will put a specific number so it will move to a specific amount. In this case, I specified 100, so it will move forward 100 pixels. Lastly, I decided to draw a sticker found in brushes just for fun. In this case, we'll call her Princess Latifa. Here is the final outcome. Yay, her beautiful house is made. Now on to the next part of my program. I used the function to draw a flower, and I used the action jump to specifically draw the flower on a certain point on the canvas. Taking a closer look at my draw a flower function, I repeated the action move forward and turn right 8 times to draw 1 petal, and then turn right and repeated that 6 times to draw another additional 6 petals. This is how it turned out. Yay! Now Princess Latifa can enjoy her colorful flowers. Now on to the last part of my program. I use the function to draw a tree and lastly have the artist jump to at this specific location 0, 0, which is the corner of the canvas. Taking a closer look at my draw a tree function, I added 2 parameters, depth and branches. Parameters can be considered as variables. Variable is a container for storing a value and can be used and updated throughout the program. It's called a variable because it's a piece of memory in which you can change what's stored. Its value can vary. In my drawing, I use the variable depth to set the depth of the line our artist draws. The move forward block will look at the depth variable to see what the value I set it to. As you can see, I set the depth to 6. So my move forward action will move by pixels of 7 times 6, which is 42. Wait, where did this 7 times depth thing came from? Well, let's take a look at math. All programming languages support the basic arithmetic operations of addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division of numbers. Well, what does that mean? That means you don't have to do any math. The program does all the math for you. Yeah, putting 42 pixels is pretty easy, but why should you do math? Let the program do all the work. It's a pretty nifty trick if you're not so well in math. Notice how I set the number for branches to 3. When drawing a tree, there are multiple branches. So I called a loop to make the branches times, which is I set as 3. It's going to turn right by 180 divided by branches, which is 3 degrees. So 180 divided by 3 is 60 degrees. So it will turn right 60 degrees. I recall the function draw tree and subtracted the depth by 1. So it's going to have a smaller depth when drawing the branches. And then I concluded it by turning left and then jumping backwards by 7 times depth. Overall, this function will be carried out if the depth is greater than 0. Where did this came from and what does this mean? Well, let's look at logic. When programming, it is often necessary to establish something whether it is true or false, so that the computer can make decisions about what actions are appropriate to take next. In programming words, this is called a Boolean expression or logic. In my program, what this means, if the depth is greater than 0, the function will carry out. If it's supposedly less than 0, it will stop drawing a tree. I set the depth to 3, which is greater than 0. But as you can see, the depth is slowly decreasing and will eventually stop if it hits less than 0, stopping from drawing the tree. This is how the function turned out. It's a quite long process, I might say, and it's a beautiful, colorful tree. Wow, that took a while, but that is a one beautiful treat that I hope Princess Latifa will enjoy when she looks out her house. And thus concludes how I made my program. Now putting all these programs together, let's see how it looks like. By combining all the commands together, this is the final outcome of my art project. Now that you have a basic understanding of how these blocks are used, it's time for you to go make your art project. Enjoy and have fun!